All right, everybody. Good morning. Happy Friday. We have made it to the end of the week, and we are just a couple days away from full NFL action. A bunch of games on Sunday. We do have a game tonight, but if you are a Seahawks fan, your heart is set on that Sunday afternoon game. So, since I've been setting up weekly series videos pretty much all week, we're going to continue to do that today with the Friday video. And again, if you've been with me for a while now, you know what the Friday video is. This one is one that I really cherish doing every week. This is one that I really place a lot of value on. And this is one that I think, more than maybe anything else, really establishes where the team is headed and how healthy the team is. Pass Rush Friday. And it's not enough to just say, well, how many sacks did you get? How many times did you sack the opposing quarterback? You got to talk about pressure. How good a job are you doing getting the opposing quarterback off of his spot? How good a job are you doing forcing him to throw the ball before he's ready? That kind of stuff matters a lot, and it's the kind of stuff that sometimes people forget about because there's so much going on in a football game. You remember the big splash plays, the sacks. You don't always remember the pressures. Sometimes the pressures are better. Sometimes a pressure gets you an interception. Sometimes a pressure creates a turnover. Sacks usually don't. But Pass Rush Friday is all about looking at who is generating pressure. And sometimes you find interesting stuff in this data, which is why I really like it. Like last year, whatever you want to say about Draymond Jones, and a lot of what you would want to say would be valid and true, Draymond Jones was actually doing a really good job delivering consistent pressure, even if he wasn't getting a lot of sacks. And we needed that because we didn't have Nwosu last year. We got very little pressure from Murphy, so somebody had to step up, and a lot of the times that was Draymond Jones. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the pressure count per game for each player, and we're going to track it by game. It's not going to be cumulative, although we are going to keep track of the totals, of course, but we're going to do it game by game so we really have an idea of how the team is maintaining a level of quarterback pressure from each game to each game. We want to see if they're having games like last year's Bills games where we didn't touch Josh Allen once. We want to see if we can at least maintain some level of competency even in games where the pass rush isn't so good. And we're going to do this for all 17 games, same as the previous years. Now, we have the list of players here. It's similar to the list of players that we had in the pass coverage list, except we have defensive linemen. For obvious reasons, I don't feel the need to add defensive linemen to the pass coverage list. But the thing that's a little bit different here is that we have projections for each player, and those projections are going to be compared to the end of season total, and we'll see how I did. A lot of these numbers came from the prediction videos that I did a month or two ago, so if you've seen those videos, you already know most of my numbers. But, excuse me, sorry for the ugly sounding cough, by the way. But anyway, the projections are just based off of my expectations and based off of their previous numbers. By the way, all pressure data is taken from Pro Football Reference, which is much harsher than Pro Football Focus. And occasionally I'll put my own judgment in there. Before I go any further, I want to tell you about my friends over at Sleeper. If you're not using Sleeper this year, you are missing out. Look at all the great stuff you can get up to over there. Look at all the great picks you can make. Let's make some picks for this weekend. My entry is Jahmyr Gibbs with an anytime touchdown. I think that Green Bay run defense is going to get hurt a little bit by losing Kenny Clark. I've got Malik Neighbors. I got that one on sale. He only has to get to 64 receiving yards. He could do that in one play in that Giants-Washington game that I think will be pretty high scoring. I've also got Brock Bowers over 63.5 receiving yards. Who else is Gino going to throw the ball to? And Bucky Irving with an anytime touchdown. I think that Tampa Bay Atlanta game is going to be pretty high scoring. I say he gets in the end zone. So go check out Sleeper. Use promo code SBN and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. What I mean by that is if I see a play where, in my opinion, there is very clearly a pressure, very clearly somebody disrupted the quarterback and made him do something he wasn't fully comfortable with, then I'm going to go ahead and add something to the total if Pro Football Reference seemingly did not. Because sometimes I think they get a little too... They're a little too hard to impress sometimes. Pro Football Focus, way too easy to impress. Pro Football Reference, slightly too hard to impress, if that makes sense. And at the end of the year, we'll see who's delivering the pressure. Now, we'll go over the projections in this video because I basically, the concept kind of explains itself at this point. But it's a great way to get an idea of how your defense is doing. Generally speaking, a lot of pressure means your team's doing something very right. Your defense is probably doing their job, and you're probably going to be winning a lot of games. So Leonard Williams, I got at 25, which is a little bit less than last year. I can't imagine Leonard Williams being as good this year as he was last year. Last year was a career year for him. He was just way too good. I don't think he's ever going to be that good again, but he'll still be one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. Byron Murphy, I got him moving up to 19. I will say I'm not super confident in this until I see him playing a lot of 3-tech this year. If I see him at 1-tech, I don't think there's any way he gets to 19. And I know 19 doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're going to play out of position at nose tackle, it really is. Jaron Reed, 14. I'm hoping that he's the nose this year. If he's the nose, then I think 14 is about the right number. He is a little bit of an undersized nose. He is a guy that you would expect would be able to get in there as the 1-tech some of the time, more so than the average, but he needs to actually get out there and be part of it. He needs to actually be the guy who's playing there. If he is a 3-tech all year or most of the year, then he'll probably get a little bit more. But Murphy also gets significantly less. That would be my kind of caveat there. Mike Morris, 1. I don't think he's going to play enough. I think he's going to play a little bit while Nwosu's out, and then he'll be pretty much shelved until somebody else gets hurt. And if somebody gets hurt, of course, we reconsider. And then Jonathan Hankins, if he ever suits up, if he ever actually gets on the field for us this year, 2 pressures, not going to be very much. And that would be a pretty good set from your defensive line. 61 pressures over 17 games from your defensive linemen. Pretty much all of them come from the top 3 guys. Pretty strong. Linebackers. I think there's going to be a decent amount of linebacker blitzing. Ernest Jones, I went with 7. I know that he has the capability of doing a lot more. He's been an elite blitzing inside linebacker in his career. He was really, really good at it with the Rams. I just don't think we're going to use him like that. I just don't think he's going to be some double-digit pressure guy. I don't. Not on Pro Football Reference. Maybe PFF. Tyrese Knight, 5. I think that he's not quite as good a blitzer as Jones, but I do think Knight's going to get involved, especially in this defense. And Mike's defense is not necessarily about blitzing one guy over and over and over again. It's letting everybody get involved. So 5 pressures, pretty strong, pretty good. And nothing for the backups. I don't think they're going to play enough. I'm hoping they don't, to be perfectly honest. And that's 12 from your inside linebackers. In an ideal world, maybe you would be getting a little bit more in this defense. But Jones and Knight being the guys that you're dancing with, I think that 12 is about the right number. Okay, edge rushers, this is obviously where the magic really happens. These are the guys you're really leaning on for pressure. And I originally had Nwosu at 25 on the year. I revised it down to 20 because it looks like he's going to miss a little bit of time to start the year. I still think he's going to be good when he's out there because he's traditionally been a very good player when he's actually able to play. But I got to revise it down a little bit. I still think he'll play most of the season, though. I'm not getting the sense that this is going to be something where he plays 5 games and pieces out. Boye Mafe, I think, will lead the way here with 31. It's a contract year for him. He needs the money. Well, I shouldn't say that, but you know he wants the money. And the way he gets the money is, quite simply, getting pressure, getting sacks. I think he's a double-digit sack guy this year, so I'm going to say 31 pressures. Derek Hall, I think we're going to have him on the field a lot for passing downs. So I think he's going to farm pressures and farm sacks despite not being the greatest all-around player. I understand that there are limitations with Derek Hall. I understand that there are issues with Derek Hall. But I think we're going to put him in a situation to succeed, and he's going to do very well as kind of a specialized pass rusher. I think we're going to keep him out of those rundowns that seem to give him problems. And DeMarcus Lawrence, this might be greedy. It might be, but I got a good feeling about DeMarcus Lawrence. He's always been a guy who gets pressure. He gets a lot of pressure. He just doesn't get sacks. That's kind of his game. Maybe he'll pull it back a little bit now that he's older and he's on this team. But he's always been a guy who gets and disrupts the quarterback, kind of like a Clowney, and then he doesn't finish. So even though I don't think he's going to get more than 6 sacks or so this year, I think he'll get 23 pressures. I think that's a good number. And then Jared Ivey, we're going with 1 pressure. He'll pick one up in the first couple weeks when Nwosu's out. 105 total from your edge rushers. That's good, right? It's by committee. We don't have one guy who's going to go out there and get 50. We don't even have one guy who's going to go out there and get 40, I don't think. But we have a couple guys that could get around 30. And then the rest of the guys just kind of pick it up from there. And we get to where we can get. Okay, we get to the secondary now. And obviously there isn't going to be a ton here. But there's definitely going to be something. You know, McDonald wants to get some pressures from his defensive backs. And with corners, it's mostly going to be one guy. Witherspoon is a great blitzer. The thing is, I don't think he's going to get a tremendous number of pressures this year because he's playing outside. He's an outside corner this year. I look at Witherspoon and I think to myself, you put that guy in the slot, he's going to be blitzing a ton. But you put him outside a lot, it doesn't make as much sense. He'll play in the slot some and he'll get some pressures anyway, but I went with 5. And then I gave Woolen 1. It's not really his game, but at some point during the season, we're going to send him, and at some point in the season, he'll get home or get kind of close. And that's 6. And then finally, safety to take it home. We got Julian Love. I'll give him 4. I definitely think safety blitzes are going to be part of this somewhat, but it's not going to be some over-the-top count of pressures from him. Kobe Bryant, I have 3 pressures. I think he's if you were to pick, I'd say Kobe's more of the free safety than Julian Love, so he's more likely to be playing back, so I don't think getting a lot of pressure is going to be his game, although it is worth noting that on 2 plays last year where we were trying to basically seal wins against the Jets and Bears, Kobe Bryant was the guy who got the pressure on Aaron Rodgers and Caleb Williams, so it's not ridiculous to say that there's something that McDonald likes with him bringing it off the bringing it from the safety position on those key downs. And finally, Nick Emenwari, I actually decided to go a little bit bold here. I went with 7 quarterback pressures. And to me, the reason is simple. We're going to be sending a lot of slot blitzes. He's your slot corner. I think that his skill set is very good for blitzing. I think that they're going to try to utilize his speed off the edge. I think you're going to see him playing other positions as well. I think he's going to be somebody who's constantly on the move. And I think as the season goes on, he's just going to rack up those pressure numbers. So 7 here, that's 14 from the safeties, and we fall just shy of 200. 198 pressures. So I would have it right at about 200 if Nwosu was healthy. Now, one thing to consider, there are going to be players that get added to this list throughout the season. I don't know who it's going to be, but somebody's going to get added here, and it may not be somebody that we expect much from. Like last year, think about all the players that we ended up having to promote to this list. It's probably not going to be like that, but by the time we get there, we'll probably be at about 200. So that's kind of my expectation, and it's a bold expectation. You're talking about almost 12 pressures a game from PFR. From PFF, that's nothing. From PFR, it's a lot. But look, the investment's here, right? We've spent draft picks. We've spent money. We've done trades to put this defense together. We brought in Mike McDonald to build this defense up. The expectation should be high. So I think it's bold, but it is reasonable. It's a reasonable expectation given the investment. All right, I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. Many more videos coming later today. It is Friday. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys soon. Go Hawks. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Keep an eye out. We're going to have the final injury report and game statuses later. I'm going to do season predictions finally. I know I put that off long enough. Got Husky stuff tomorrow, so I'll talk about that. Keep posted. See you guys soon. Go Hawks.